Right, this is going to be my post-mortem for the UI framework, and there's a lot to go through, so I'm just going to get straight into it, starting with the player vitals. So each player vital consists of a animation that they use. So if starting with the mana bar, if you lose mana, it transitions from the old value to the new value, and there's a mana regeneration that I added in that just slowly gives you mana when you're missing it, with a slight delay when it's finished using, and if you fully drain the bar, it's a bit of a longer delay before it starts to regenerate. The animation also works going up, although there's a slight bug where if you go from one direction to the other too quickly, the animation doesn't play and it just snaps up as shown. It features a tooltip to tell you your exact mana. Happens on lowering and increasing. The animation speed is actually dynamic, so if it has a long way to go, it moves quickly and it slows down as it reaches its target. But if it only has a small distance to go, it's slower to begin with and gets a bit quicker as it gets to its target, but still stays quite slow. The same goes to the health bar, the tooltip, the dynamic updates, and I accidentally just killed myself and gave a sneak peek at a future widget. Oh, there's a bug with the health bar not updating on death, which I will fix before uploading the project. So when you lose health, it plays the animation like manual, and when you gain health, it plays the animation. Same bug as for swapping directions, it just snaps. And the health bar does not feature a regeneration like the mana bar does. The stamina bar doesn't have the same animation as the other bars does, because stamina drains and regens dynamically anyway with how stamina works, and I have added a stamina mechanic to the game just for showing the widget. Not the best in the world, and it does not change character speed, and it does not check if the character is actually moving, because I just added it for the widget updates. So if I hold shift, the stamina will go down, and if I let go of shift, the stamina goes back up. And if you completely drain the stamina, like with the mana bar, then it is a longer wait, like with the mana bar was. Now, profile picture doesn't do anything, just there to look nice. But the currency doesn't have a tooltip because it doesn't really need one. But if you were to gain currency, it adds a modified text that has a plus and is green because you're gaining currency, and it increases the first amount and decreases the modified amount to meet the card target goal, as it is showing here. Same works with decreasing, except for when it has a minus and it's red. And if you gain more currency while it's active, it just increases the modified amount, as you're seeing here. And if you lose currency while gaining, lowers that modified amount, even taking it into the minus if you lose that much currency. I have that same currency bar in the inventory, which I'll show you later. But now, on to the experience bar, which I accidentally gave a nice slight sneak peek to. So the experience bar, when you gain experience, because actually you'll see there's no experience bar on the screen right now. So when you gain experience, the experience bar opens up, updates the experience, then disappears again. And if you gain more experience while this is already active, it drops back down again. But also, if you gain a big chunk of XP, it's going to drop down, fill the bar, reset the bar, fill it again, and then do it again until all the levels have been added. If no one's in while the bar's already down, it will just update it instantly. If it's added while the bar's going up, it will bring it back down from the point it got to while it was on its way up. It doesn't reset the animation. And when you do level up in the bar, the text elements only update when the bar resets, as well as the level up text pop-up only appears when the bar itself updates, not when it first starts. It also features the same smooth moving animation as the other bars do, obviously. And all the bars that do have these animations have a slightly different colour for the transition, as you've probably seen, but I forgot to mention. So for this, the alt value goes from one colour to the other as it fills up. Same with the health bar, same with the mana bar there. Next, the abilities. They all have hover effects and their own tooltips with the ability name and description. They highlight when hovered over to indicate to the player that they can be clicked, but they also have keybinds associated with them, which are labelled down below, as well as mana cost, which is purple right now to match the colour of the mana bar, to let you know that these use mana. If I activate one of these by clicking or using the keybind, I'll click for this example. It starts a radial timer, and that timer will go from a desaturated image to the original image with a text pop-up displaying the time remaining, and it also removes the two text boxes down here because they're not needed while it's on cooldown. Now if I lower my mana, you'll see these abilities start to go deactivated if you go below the amount needed to cast them, because now I can't afford them. But also, if you activate one of these and then go below the amount to cast it, you'll see that it goes from desaturated to slightly coloured to show the progress off the timer, but also let the player know that even when the timer finishes, that's still not going to be usable. If you go back above the amount of mana needed to cast it, while it's active, as you'll see there, it flips between the two states, which I'm not happy with the sudden change in colour mid-animation, but it's important to actually show the player the status of the ability. So that's the way I chose to do it, even knowing that. Is that everything on my list? I'm working off the script sort of here to remember all the things I implemented with this. The hover effects don't happen if the ability is in use. It no longer highlights, and it also doesn't highlight if you can't afford the ability. You still get the tooltips, obviously, because you still want to know the information about it, but it doesn't hover. It doesn't do this highlight effect unless you can actually cast the ability. And this is all dynamically generated, so if for whatever reason in the game you gain a new ability, this entire bar would update, add the new ability with the new details. Although I don't actually have new abilities that get added or removed in my project, the actual function to do that is implemented. Next, I'll show the minimap. You hover over the minimap, you get another tooltip saying click here or press M to toggle. If I do that, it expands, makes it a bit bigger on the screen, easy to see. And also, the minimap itself, player stays in the middle, and the map moves around with it. You zoom out, your map zooms out, you zoom in, your map zooms in. And that works with the minimap expanded and collapsed. The compass arrow up here faces the same direction as the player. And I do have shopkeepers and quest givers, shopkeepers and quest locations in my framework, even though I haven't built widgets for these, just to show the icons on the minimap. And if I actually pick up the quest location ones, they get removed from the minimap because I no longer need to go there. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Next, I'll show the prompts. So I never added a statistics panel, but I included the prompt for it anyway, just as a proof of theory. So if it was implemented, click here or press K to open it. And there's a click effect, it's a hover effect, keybind, and with the map icon, this was initially intended to be a map screen, but because the map screen wasn't the optional widget I chose to implement, I just decided to link this to the minimap animation instead, because it may as well do something. Now for the effect bar, that is right here, but it only shows when there's an effect active, which this ability gives an effect. So when you use that, first you get little widgets around the player to let you know you have a buff, and the buff effect pops up here with a radial timer and a tooltip letting you know details about the effect. You also have one for debuff, so if I go over here to apply a bunch of buffs, you'll see there's 4 different types which all get added to the screen here, and I got red down arrows for a debuff. So yeah, those are active. Now, I wasn't able to make these update when you gain a buff you already had. So if I walk through this twice, you'll see I gain 2 of the same one, and it actually ends when the last one is removed. So it still correctly communicates to the player when it's ending, just not in the best way. So if I were to do this again, I would make that update the timer rather than create a new one, because if you activate too many of these and get too many duplicates, you'll see the effects get squashed, because the bar was initially meant for a maximum of 4 different effects at once, but because they can be duplicated, it can be squashed. Now, you may notice that these are displayed where the experience bar would usually be, but what if you gain effects and experience at the same time? So if that were to happen, the effects get brought down to sit below the experience bar and go back up with the experience bar, so that they are never overlapping. I'll show that again. So they don't overlap, they get moved. And also with the minimap, which I forgot to show before, there are enemies that appear on the minimap. They also have their own health bar with an animation for losing health, like the player's health bar features. Like that. You don't really deal much damage to the enemies with this ability, so it's hard to tell, but it does have that. And the enemies also have the debuff effects if you give them a debuff, like so. And finally, there is item label widgets for every item in my game. I say every item, I didn't build one per one, it's dynamically generated. The only thing that's not dynamic is the scaling of the label, so that looks like a good size there. But if I go to a short named thing like this book, there's empty spaces on the left and right. That's because this is using the screen space widget, and I could not figure out how to dynamically scale the draw size of them to match the text size. But if this widget was placed on the player HUD, that would shrink down to match the size of the text, because I've set the widget up to do that. I just couldn't figure out how to communicate that to the draw size. Now, for the main screen of my game, which is the inventory, which I spent a lot of time on, as well as adding an equipment panel and a crafting panel for it. Let me just check my notes to make sure I'm up to date on everything before moving on. Yeah, I believe I am. So, onto the inventory. The items generate with a picture and an amount. If it's something that doesn't stack, like a sword, it doesn't have an amount. But with the things that do stack, even if I only had one of them, it will still give me an amount. Each item has a tooltip to give you their name, description, and a helpful prompt saying click to use. It also highlights the hovered over slot with a blue outline, as you can see. I've got this search bar, which I can search for specific items. So if I do A, I've got apple and animal hide. If I get more specific by adding an N, I accidentally clicked off the bar. If I get more specific by adding an N, I got an animal hide. I only have the animal hide now. I can clear that to bring everything back, or I could also just backspace that to remove it. I've also got a list of filters, so if I show all equipment, now if I untick that, it shows everything again, or if I just click the next one, that one is removed because all of these are unique. There's no item that shares these types, so clicking a different one will automatically remove the old one. So here are weapons, here are food, consumables, craftables, and quest items. Now, if you hit the X again, filters removed, and also filters are removed. You close the inventory. Oh, and there's this animation for opening the inventory, which is quite nice. And search terms are also removed when you close the inventory. And also with search terms and filters, they work together. So if I were to add a consumables to this and that's still not filtered enough for me, oh, and also you can close the filter and it's keep the filter applied, just so you're not covering up the items here. But now if I'm in here and I want a specific item like the baguette, I can type that in to bring up only the search term and the applied filter, because if I, probably not bag, but if I remove the G, so I've got baguettes and bananas, but if I removed the filter, that would bring up more, because there's more things that use B and A, just the filter was also working with the search term, and both of those get cleared if I close the inventory. Now, clicking on an item brings up a list of options. For this item, it has 4 options. I can drink it because it's a potion, I can discard it, I can split it, or I can cancel. Whereas an item like a craftable, we only have, no, we would have the same, because an item like a quest item, no options, because you do not want to be able to discard this, you can't equip it, it doesn't stack, so you don't need to split it, so there's no options for that right now. But an equipable, I can equip it, discard it, or cancel it. I'll drink one of the potions because I'm low on health, as I can see there. So if I were to drink that, 1 is removed, and I've healed for a bit of health. Apples will also heal me, not as much. Peppers won't heal me, they are used for crafting. And yeah. So I can also split the items, like I said, so a stack of 4 will be split into 2 and 2. And say 55 apples is way too many. I don't want to split them, don't want to hold them. I can discard those, bring up a menu. These are no longer interactable because you're in a widget. I can click here to increase how many I want to discard by 1, lower it by 1, or I can go all the way to the max 55 because I have 55 apples, or minimum 1 because why would I be in this widget if I wanted to discard 0? And if I do decide I no longer want to discard, I can just cancel that. So back in the discard menu, I will drop all of them, why not? You can also control it with a slider. If you're not cared about precision, you're like, oh, you want to get roughly half. There you go. It's actually pretty close, 54. Best you can half an odd number. So you can now confirm. I'm going to get rid of them all because why not? Also, if you hold these buttons, it will keep subtracting one at a time till you let go. And when you hit confirm, that's removed from the inventory and it is actually placed on the floor. I chose a bad location to do this, but it was placed on the floor in front of where I was standing for me to pick up again if I wanted them back. So there they are again now. Now, onto a couple of balls. The slots have tooltips, letting you know what's supposed to be in the slot, as well as the silhouette they have, which sort of gives you an idea of what the slot is for. So that's clearly a helmet, clearly a chest plate. Things like this may not obviously be a shield, but to me they are. But tooltips are there as well to let you know. And if I were to equip one into this, it doesn't have to perfectly match. That's just to generic. Oh, that's just to suggest a weapon. But this, as you see, this is a weapon. Does not look like that. But I hope it's still obvious that goes in the weapon slot. And once it's in there, it changes the tooltip to display the details of this weapon. And if I click that again, I can cancel or unequip now. I don't have the same options as if the item was here because I don't want to discard it while I'm equipping it. And I'm no longer equipping it because I'd be unequipping it. So let's equip some more items. Put the chest plate on, put the helmet on, put the leggings on. They're all assigned to their own slot. Oh, I didn't put the leggings on. They're all assigned to their own slot, so they won't try to go into the wrong slot. Put on all the ones for the different slots. So now they're all equipped. They all have their own tooltips, listing what the item is, and options to unequip or cancel on each one, which you unequip, remove from the thing, put back in the inventory. But also, if I now decide I want this chest plate instead of that one, I could unequip it and put this one on, or I could just equip the new one, put it in its place, and the old one is returned. And they're going to stay equipped, stay out the inventory and in the equipment panel, even though I close it down, because I'm wearing those now, and they will not appear in here, whether I search for them or filter for them. So that's the gold necklace. There is no gold necklace in the inventory at all, because it's equipped. Also, swapping tabs updates this highlight and resets the search term. Now this was supposed to be a creative craft. I say creative. It's reference. It's used Minecraft as a reference, as you may tell. But it was supposed to be. This was supposed to be how you craft. You'd click on a craftable, hit craft, go into there. You use it to craft stuff. But that was too big of a system to implement into the given framework. It would be way too much coding for a UI focused module. So instead, I have this recipe tab with different tabs of different things, and the recipes themselves are duplicated to fit into all applicable categories. So the green powder is in all recipes and is also in resources. And let's go to Wooden Club. Wooden Club is in all. It's also in all equipment. Wooden Club there, and then it is also in the weapons only tab of equipment. If I were to click this one, it highlights and fills this up, and that is highlighted in the weapons tab. It's not highlighted in the all tab. Okay, I'm not sure what's gone wrong there, but on all my tests, when I selected the widget in one, it highlighted in the others, so I'll try and fix that after this video. But either way, when you selected a recipe, it updates which one's highlighted, and if you swap tabs, all tabs get reset to default, so I'm back in all. If I go into equipment, that's set back to all. There's no recipes selected anymore, and the displayed recipe is not there anymore. That's the same for closing the inventory. It's all reset. Now for actually crafting, you'll see I can have tooltips for the ingredients to use to craft this, and that's got green around it because I do have green peppers, but leaf is red because I do not have any leaves. But if I choose the wooden plank, that only uses logs. I've got tons of logs. 12 logs, 22 planks. One log makes one plank. So if I go and make some planks, when I hit this, it will flash green because the craft was successful. Just crafted a few of those, so now I have only 9 logs, and now I have 25 planks. We'll spam this. See, that's flashed red now, and that hasn't red outline because now I have no logs, which means the craft was unsuccessful. Because now I have no logs, but I do have 35 planks now. All crafting recipes work if you have the required resources, and it seems like just the buttons in the All tab don't get highlighted, but the specific tabs do. Okay, that's probably an easy fix. I've just missed something probably. But yeah. So that's the crafting system done, and I believe that is everything. All the widgets I've built. Yeah. So that is my post-mortem complete for the UI framework. I had a lot of fun building all these different widgets, especially the abilities. I really like just how cool they look. And I've really enjoyed this module. UI is a big enjoyment of mine, and I hope to do it in my future careers. So thank you for watching.